Hey guys, welcome to the show. This is the Dirty Birds podcast. I'm Andrew, your host, and I'm welcomed here by Grayson. How are you, Grayson?
Pretty good. Just got back from Dallas for the Dirk Nowitzki final home game, so ready to talk about some sports. Been a great week. Ready to get started.
Awesome. I'm also joined here with Dustin. How are you, Dustin?
Dude, I'm good. I just can't believe this is actually happening. Like, me and Grayson, we're both football student assistants, just kind of met that way and just started talking football. We both were like, oh my gosh, we're both football nerds. This is awesome. And he was just like, dude, we should start a podcast. And the rest is history.
Yeah, and I'm a diehard Cardinals fan, and Dustin's a diehard Seahawks fan, so that's how we got Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds, boy.
So that's the Dirty Birds podcast. So we're going to jump right into it. Dustin, tell me about some of the Seahawks moves in this offseason with free agency.
Bro, not going to lie, Seahawks are kind of making me mad this year. We haven't really gotten anybody. We've just lost people. Now, by losing people, we will be getting compensatory picks in next year's draft, but nothing compared to what we're losing. Earl Thomas, he's gone, and that's a huge hole as a safety. We're going to really need to replace that. Justin Coleman, our nickelback. We got Sweezy's gone to the Cardinals, actually, with Grayson and Shamar Stephen, Mike Davis, Brett Hundley, lots of people. And our best signing is a kicker, Jason Myers. So not looking too good right now.
There's the Seahawks moves. So let's move on to the Cardinals. Grayson, tell us some stuff about the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm actually a little excited, a little nervous though. Hired Cliff Kingsbury, and that's a little risky move. No NFL experience. However, he is a great offensive mind, which is something we needed after having a very stagnant offense last year. And then we also hired Vance Joseph to be our defensive coordinator, which will give Cliff Kingsbury a little help with the head coaching and be able to revitalize our defense that had to step back last year. Also signed Robert Alford, which helps fill the spot up across from Patrick Peterson, which has been a very weak spot on our defense for a while. Also getting Jordan Hicks, great linebacker, can work with Hassan Reddick in the inside. And then Terrell Suggs, who I'm hoping will have a similar career in Arizona as Dwight Freeney did when he came back and was able to actually kind of revitalize his career there. So got guard J.R. Sweezy, which
stole that from us.
Stolen from the Seahawks. I don't know if that's a indication of signing drafting Kyler Murray. He's used to blocking for a mobile quarterback, but we'll see. I'm excited about this year.
All right, now tell me something. We all know that the Cardinals have that high draft pick. Who do you think is a good pick for the Cardinals? I mean, everyone says Kyler Murray is going to get drafted. Cliff Kingsbury loves Kyler. He worked with him. But what's a really good move for the Cardinals right now?
I mean, I do think Kyler Murray is the pick you should take. He's the kind of player who can come in and just change a franchise like Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield. I love Josh Rosen. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's a great fit for Arizona, and especially with Cliff Kingsbury's offense. And if we're taking the risk on Kingsbury, we might as well go all in and get the guy who he loves, fits in his system, and can change his franchise for the better.
Yeah, I agree. I just think Kingsbury, this is his one shot in the NFL. He's not going to get another shot after this. He'll be back to college if this kind of doesn't work out. So if he's going to get his one shot, he's going to get the quarterback he wants. He's not going to mess around with Rosen if he doesn't really like him or maybe sign someone. Like, he's going to go get Kyler if that's who he wants.
So for all my local Steeler fans out there, that's my favorite team. We have the Seahawks and we have the Cardinals, but moving on to the Steelers moves. Yes, the Steelers are struggling. I get that.
The struggle is real. I feel you, man.
Yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah, but losing Antonio Brown and losing Le'Veon Bell weren't the worst things in the world. Yeah, we did clean up that locker room very well. There are some controversies on Big Ben's leadership, but still having Juju Smith and James Conner coming back from an injury, I think the future could be bright with bringing in Dante McCreeve, try to be that second man for Juju Smith-Schuster, and just an overall for the Steelers, try not to get beat by the Browns too much with Baker Mayfield and all of his weapons. So we'll see how it goes.
Don't forget about Steven Nelson and Mark Barron. They're going to be – y'all are bringing them in. They're going to really lock down that defense and kind of improve upon what y'all have got already there with T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward and stuff.
Also traded away Marcus Gilbert to the Cardinals, so we'll see how that O-line stays.
Struggling O-line. But let's move on to the Cowboys. local, of course. We're in Texas, so we have to talk about the Cowboys. So give me some insight on what's going on over there.
Well, they signed wide receiver Randall Cobb, so that should help with the departure of Cole Beasley, and he should be able to be a reliable number 2 for Dak Prescott.
And they're also making a lot of under-the-radar acquisitions that you don't really hear about. People like Christian Covington, Kerry Hyder, both defensive tackles who are positions of need. They just don't have that great of D tackles. So those dudes, they're not going to be studs, but it fills the need. And then Robert Quinn is a huge one, a name you've forgotten about. He was a Pro Bowler back with the Rams, but went to the Dolphins for a little bit and now gets traded to the Cowboys for a 6th-round pick in the 2020 draft, which is almost nothing. And just putting him opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be terrifying for quarterbacks to look at. Add him to the threesome of linebackers and Sean Lee,
Leighton Vander Esch.
And Jalen Smith. Dude, that trio is legit. And then they signed George Iloka to fill the spot of safety since they missed out on Earl Thomas. So they're looking really good for this year.
Yeah, this is one of the best I've seen the Cowboys defense in a while. So it should be interesting to see how they fare next year.
100%.
All right, and the Cowboys had they've been doing well the past 2 years.
Beat my
First
Seahawks.
playoff one in a while.
Exactly. So they're looking to improve. Who are some other teams that have improved in the past season or are looking to improve this season?
I think one of the most improved teams is definitely the Browns. We saw last year going from an 0-16 team to a, I want to say
7-8-1. Yeah, they have that tie
With the Steelers.
with the Steelers.
John Dorsey has got to be one of the greatest GMs in recent history. If you look at what he's done in his past 3 years, he's brought in Myles Garrett, David Njoku, Jabril Peppers, who was used in the trade for Odell Beckham Jr., got their franchise quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who shocked all the critics. No one thought he was going to be as good as he was. This year signing Kareem Hunt. Also got Jarvis Landry last year. And then, of course, getting the trade for Odell Beckham.
That's
and
huge.
This offense is just, it's scary.
Who do you cover?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And the last time Beckham and Landry played together at LSU, they had 3,882 receiving yards and 18 touchdowns.
Holy crap.
Beckham on the outside, one of the best outside receivers, number 1 receivers, and then Jarvis Landry being one of the best inside number 2 guys. Both guys capable of making ridiculous catches. And then also, on the other side of the ball, signing Sheldon Richardson and then trading for Olivier Vernon from the Giants.
Yeah.
Just
that
paired with Myles Garrett,
that
D-line is scary.
Yeah.
And back to the offense, I don't know who you cover because when Kareem Hunt comes back, and even when he's not back, Nick Chubb being back there, this is a great running back they drafted last year.
And you got Njoku at tight end.
You got Njoku at tight end. And then even if you manage to cover all of those guys, you have Antonio Callaway, another good receiver. Who can hurt you. So.
100%.
Of course. Can you put some money down right now that the Browns are going to win the AFC North?
I'd say right now it's between them and the Ravens. Steelers took a step back.
Yeah, the Ravens kind of netted out. They signed some people but also lost some. As far as getting Earl Thomas, that's huge, but they lost C.J. Mosley. They signed Mark Ingram but lost their good edge rushers at Zadarius Smith. So it's they're kind of netting out right now. So I think they'll be about the same, maybe better with Lamar Jackson on his second year probably.
I think that also does depend on Lamar Jackson. One thing he definitely needs to fix is his ball security. Had way too many fumbles last year. If he can get a little bit better, which Harbaugh's doing great with using him in the scheme. I just think if they can take a step up next year and Lamar Jackson can step up his game, that's going to be a really interesting race to see who finishes.
That's going to be an interesting division. Very interesting.
Which it's between them and the Ravens. I mean, and the Steelers can also always surprise us. The Bengals are always out of it, though.
It's so weird to see the Steelers not as the front runners for that division.
It is. Yeah, and to see a good Browns team.
Yeah, that's also really weird.
We've never seen.
100%.
It's
unfortunate.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, who's another improved team that we're looking forward to seeing?
And honestly, they haven't improved as much as you'd think they would. It's more they avoided disaster, and this is the Rams. The Rams, they just had because they went on a spending spree last year, but like Ndamukong Suh and trading for Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. So Brandon Cooks, tons of players. So it's like they were so tied down with all this cap space, you didn't think they were going to be able to do that much. But despite all that, they kind of cushioned their losses. They lost Roger Saffold, guard, to I want to say the Titans, and then LaMarcus Joyner to the Raiders. But other than that, not much. They signed Eric Weddle to replace Joyner at safety, who honestly is probably better than Joyner.
I was very shocked that the Ravens released.
I know.
Weddle.
I don't know why, but yeah. So they got him, and he's a good veteran presence in that locker room. And then they were able to keep Dante Fowler at edge rusher from the Jags that they got, and they signed Clay Matthews. So last year their biggest need was edge rushers. That was the only position they weren't good at, and it's set now. So they're really, you literally can't find a position on that team where they're hurting. I mean, at all.
Yeah, and then another division that I think is going to be extremely interesting to watch is going to be the AFC East.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have the Patriots and Tom Brady, who has every year people are like, oh, he's going to take a downturn, and then he doesn't.
Never.
But the Bills this year, they're getting a lot better. Signed Cole Beasley, who is a great possession receiver. He's been amazing for the Cowboys. Will help Josh Allen.
He's also a great rapper.
Yeah. Better than Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
And then the wide receiver I think is going to make the biggest impact there is going to be John Brown.
Yep.
Josh Allen, when he came into that draft last year, his big thing was his gigantic arm, throwing the ball about 80 yards at his pro day. And John Brown has been a great deep threat in his career. You saw it with Flacco in Baltimore, not as much with Lamar Jackson because he doesn't have as big of an arm. But you really saw it in Arizona whenever Bruce Arians was running that offense where they were just chucking it deep 6 times a game, and John Brown would just burn his man, and Carson Palmer would throw it up to him. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see. And then running back Frank Gore coming back.
He's still trucking, man.
Still got some gas in the tank. Be able to help out that offense.
Yeah, and you can't forget low-key signings like Kevin Johnson, who was a first-round pick from the Texans on that defense. He should help improve that. And they also signed four or five offensive linemen, 3 of which are projected as starters. So that's like, because Josh Allen was running for his life last year. That's why he made some ridiculous plays. But so they sure up that O-line, and they're kind of like Band-Aids. They're not like stud players,
picks, yeah.
But this allows them to pick the best player in the draft instead of picking for need, because they eliminated those needs by filling positions.
And then the other team in that division that's taking a step up is the Jets. Getting Le'Veon Bell, who you can't understate his impact on a game.
Sorry, Tooth.
Yep.
It's going to help Sam Darnold a ton, having just that guy who can, when plays break down, Le'Veon Bell's always seemed to get open on that. Just check it down to him. We'll also take pressure off of him because defenses are going to have to look for the run more.
Yep.
And then on the other side of the ball, they lost Sheldon Richardson, but they got Anthony Barr from the Vikings, who has been a great linebacker, and then C.J. Mosley, who...
Well, Anthony Barr actually ended up going to the Vikings.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah,
he said
he
was
that,
going to go to the Jets. And
he did that switcheroo thing where he...
But still, C.J. Mosley is a great... great help
Mosley,
on
that's a huge contract. Honestly, kind of... Because Seahawks are going to have to sign Bobby Wagner next year. He's got 1 year left on his contract. That just bumps up his contract. That's 5 years, $85 million. I don't know what the math is on that, but that's like $17, $18 million a year, which means B-Wags is going to be pushing $20 million, which I just don't know if Seahawks are going to pay him.
Yeah.
But
then, staying in that division, how do you think the Patriots are going to fare next year without having Gronk, and Tom Brady is still getting older?
Yeah, the Patriots, I mean, honestly, they're doing their thing. They're doing exactly what they did last year by letting Trey Flowers go to a huge contract with the Lions. Trent Brown went to the Raiders, another big contract. Malcolm Brown's gone, Cordell Patterson, and they're just losing players right and left. But by losing them, they're going to get compensatory picks next year. So, and that's kind of the game they play. And they sign these low-key players like Maurice Harris, who was kind of this like possession receiver with the Redskins last year. Bruce Ellington, another under the radar receiver. They got a couple running backs.
Which we all know what the Patriots do with guys like that.
Dude, yeah, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, just rando people who just show up and turn out to be decent for the Patriots.
Tom Brady is the check down guy.
He
Yes,
100%. Yep. So
Now we're going to talk about some teams that have taken a step back in this offseason and everything that's going on. Of course, the Steelers are struggling. My Steelers with, of course, losing Le'Veon and Antonio and even Jesse James. There's going to be a big hole to fill for McDonald to put there at tight end. So we'll see how many years Big Ben has,
Dude, honestly, y'all should just 2 more years and then draft Trevor Lawrence, bro.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm serious.
There's some few quarterbacks coming up. So
Yeah.
tell me about some other teams that are really hurting and didn't really do much in this offseason.
Dude, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins, man. Like they haven't done anything. Their only signing is Ryan Fitzpatrick, which
Traded away Tannehill, their former franchise quarterback.
so got rid of
been a big
Tannehill,
question.
got rid of Robert Quinn for 2020 draft picks, which is interesting to note that they didn't get 2019 draft picks. So there's this rumor going around that they might be tanking already, trying to do what the Browns did by tanking and just getting high draft picks and trying to get Tua. There's just been this thing, tanking for Tua. The Dolphins are tanking for Tua.
Yeah, but you got Fitzmagic over there now.
Well, basically, they had this thing. I was listening to a podcast with a Dolphins guy, and he was saying they had this thing where they would talk about what Band-Aid quarterback were they going to have, and it ended up being Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick has been a great placeholder quarterback.
Yeah, and
you haven't seen him stay in one place for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just this rule in the NFL, the unheard rule that Fitzpatrick has to start at least one game every season. And he ends up, whether he's a backup, whatever, he always starts a game. It's crazy.
And then he'll always have one great game, and
everyone freaks out.
then he'll go back to not doing great,
Yep.
which is why
and
he's a great
he shows you why he's
placeholder.
not a starting quarterback. But yeah, so he'll be entertaining for 1 year while the Dolphins are tanking. Just at least make it exciting while you're doing bad. Sort of thing.
Before I get into my damaged team, I want to say like another quarterback like that who he's been great in games, but has also at times shown you why he's not a starting quarterback. Nick Foles. How do you think? I don't know. Like, I love Nick Foles personally, but do you think it was a good idea for the Jags to pay him to be their starting quarterback?
I don't. That's going to be an interesting one because the Jags feel like
Definitely a step up from Blake Bortles.
It is, and their thought behind it is all we need is a quarterback. Because their defense a couple years ago with Calais Campbell,
Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey, he was a dog, but they were in the AFC Championship with the Patriots, and I think their thought is that all we need is just a quarterback who can manage the game, not turn the ball over, and then their defense can shut down people and they can run the ball with Fournette and win games. But I don't think Nick Foles is like a legit, like high caliber starting quarterback. But I think he can be that game manager, like an Alex Smith sort of thing.
I've always said Nick Foles is kind of what I like to call a neutral player. He's not going to make a team that much better, or that much worse. He's not going to make or break a team.
He's going to get by.
Yeah. He's going to, whatever your team is without the quarterback position, he's basically going to keep it the same.
But in reality, though, who do the Jags have, especially losing Dante McCreeve? Who do they have to even throw to? Who does Nick Foles have?
They've got to draft someone.
Yeah.
They have to draft someone. If not with their first pick, they'll probably go, because it's looking like their first pick will probably be Juwan James, a left tackle. But they'll probably take someone in the second round. I don't see how they can't.
Harry or
Hakeem Butler or something like that. They have to.
If he falls that far.
Never know.
Boomer Sooner.
So the team I was going to talk about for damaged teams is going to be the Giants. Obviously losing Odell Beckham Jr. is huge. They got Golden Tate, but
I just don't think Tate can be a number one.
It depends on how they use him.
Yeah.
But I still think that's definitely a step down from OBJ.
Oh, 100%.
There's not many receivers who you could say would be a step up. And then their defense suffered a lot this year. Landon Collins, I cannot believe they let him walk.
What are you doing?
And that's honestly why they got Jabril Peppers in that Odell trade, was just to fill that spot.
But still, like, Jabril Peppers, I think, is a good player, but I think Landon Collins was one of the best safeties in the league.
No doubt.
And then
it's definitely a downgrade.
Olivier Vernon.
Yeah.
That definitely hurts.
They got to find someone to rush the passer.
Yeah.
Because he was the only player they had, and at this point, they just got rid of him. There's no one, literally no one to rush the passer.
And then, well, the thing is, they got to figure out what they're doing at quarterback.
They do.
This year, they benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith.
Yeah, what? Oh, my
for
gosh.
a game. So they're obviously not set on Manning. Are they going to address that in the draft, Dwayne Haskins? Or are they going to try to trade for someone like Josh Rosen with the Cardinals?
It's going to be interesting because they traded Odell and got that 17th overall pick. So they could take Haskins at 6 or wait at 17 and take a guy like Daniel Jones. Or like you're saying, maybe they want to go after Rosen.
Yeah, and I think the smart thing is if you trade for Rosen, you're getting him at a smaller price, and for a guy who's already had experience in the league and who I believe was better than a lot of these quarterbacks in this draft this year. I think the reason I like Kyler Murray is I just think the type of player he is just transcends a team. But if they even take Rosen possibly for a second-round pick, that still gives you 2 first-round picks that you can take defensive players to get back what you lost this year. Even if they take him with the 17th overall pick, there's still guys that they can take at 6 that can help their defense.
Yeah, I was reading something.
Like a Josh Allen or a if Quinnen Williams did fall that far.
Dude.
I don't think he will, but
yeah, they could grab someone at 6. But yeah, I was reading something. Some GMs were saying they think if you were to slot Rosen in this year's draft, he would go somewhere right after Kyler. Kyler would be first, and then Haskins and Locke would be just after Rosen. So he really would be, other than Kyler, the best quarterback to go for. So even if you're giving up just a second-round pick to get him, I just don't see why you wouldn't, you know? So,
which I feel like the Cardinals are still kind of holding out on that. They're going to wait till it gets closer to the draft. However, if they're going to trade for a quarterback, if they're going to trade Rosen, it's going to have to be before the draft, because after the draft is when teams, they have their guy who they think is going to play because they need to get ready for the season.
For sure.
So the price is going to go down, especially if they do draft Kyler Murray, because then it's to the point where teams know they have to get rid of Rosen. So I could see the Giants giving up their second first-round pick. But
and the Redskins are in the running for him too.
Yeah, Chargers and Giants Chargers and Giants, and then Patriots are a team that I would love to see trade for him.
Yeah.
Give him the keys to that dynasty. I think with the right coaching and with the right system, I think he could carry that legacy on.
Yeah.
I've always thought he was a great player, and he's gotten a bad situation in Arizona.
Yeah, honestly, that offense was kind of stagnant.
Especially with Steve Wilkes and Mike McCoy were not great for that offense last year. Which you could see with David Johnson becoming stagnant pretty much last year.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about trades here and what teams are going to do, who we're going to trade. We're talking about the draft, of course, but tell me about some free agents, the best free agents right now that are available, and where do you think they will end up?
Well, the best 2 out there right now is Ndamukong Suh and Eric Berry.
Mm-hmm.
Berry got cut when the Chiefs signed Tyrann Mathieu, just because there wasn't cap space, and it was kind of a move where the Chiefs just were tired of Berry being injured all the time. So, but Suh's an interesting one. He's kind of older. He's I think in his 30s, or at least close if he's not. And he's just been signing 1-year deals with the Dolphins. He's there for a year or 2. And then the Rams, the 1-year deal. And as far as where he could go, the top 5 teams with cap space are the Colts, Browns, 49ers, Titans, and Bills. And Suh is not a guy you're going to sign if you're rebuilding. So that kind of rules out Bills, 49ers, even the Titans. I just think the Colts and the Browns, they're in win now. They both need D-tackle. Browns could love to have him opposite of Sheldon Richardson, and their D-line would be legit if they had him also. And then the Colts have so much cap space. I don't see why they wouldn't at least entertain the idea of signing him.
Yeah.
I feel like the Colts have a lot of cap space every year, and they never really do anything with it. I've heard they're wary of signing big players to big contracts because of the effects in the locker room, but I still think getting a guy like Ndamukong Suh, no matter how that affects the locker room. I
Dude,
think that's a great.
he's such a good player.
And
I mean,
the Colts are right there. They're like right there, able to contend for make to the Super Bowl.
yeah,
They had a really great year this year. Andrew Luck coming back for a full season.
their
will be
draft,
amazing.
they drafted so well.
They do, yeah.
Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard, both first-team All-Pro. It's
Yeah.
crazy, rookies. But-
The other free agent that's still out there is Ziggy Ansah. He's a four sacks last year. Just a guy, another D end who could make a big impact on a team. I could see him going somewhere like Oakland to the Raiders, who
Yeah,
still
they
haven't
need
found
someone.
a replacement for Khalil Mack. Which I mean, they got 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack, but still, I honestly think the Bears won that trade. Still,
They did. I mean,
'cause-
they went from a team people laughed about to winning the NFC North. That's such a tough division
Yes,
to win
it
with the
is.
Vikings and the Packers. Like
the Vikings, who last year they thought it was the only thing they needed was a quarterback. Go out and get
disappointment.
get the biggest fish in free agency that's been there in a long time, and then just completely do like terrible.
Yeah.
Don't even make the playoffs.
that was disappointing. So
The thing in that division is everyone's been waiting on the Packers. Of course, love Aaron Rodgers, big Aaron Rodgers guy, but he doesn't have many weapons. But everyone's been waiting on the Packers, and then everyone's like, oh my goodness, this Viking team, they're going to be good. And all of a sudden, the Bears come out of nowhere with that defense.
Yep.
Khalil Mack just changed that defense.
Really
It's
did.
ridiculous how many turnovers just himself that he caused and won some games actually just by himself.
Literally.
Obviously not by himself, but just finished the game with some key
Yeah.
sacks and fumble recoveries and stuff like that. So it's a
Yeah.
tough division to win in.
it
really
is,
is.
and the Packers are looking a lot better next year.
Although they lost Clay Matthews, which was a big loss. In the
They
middle of their
did,
defense.
but I feel like he was just reaching the end of his career and not as effective as he once was. And they filled that with two free agents. They signed Zadarius Smith from the Ravens and Preston Smith from the Redskins, and to 4-year deals, one for $66 million and $52 million. So that their edge rush is literally their pass rush is solidified from two signings just like that, and they don't have to worry about that now. And then they signed Adrian Amos at safety. They drafted 2 corners last year. So their defense is finally looking solid. So I don't think they have to worry about that anymore. All they got to do is give Aaron Rodgers one or two more weapons, and they're good, honestly. So
one thing we haven't talked about that I feel like definitely a big thing you need to mention, talking about free agency this year, is like, what do you think the impact is going to be of Antonio Brown on the Raiders? Do you think he's going to be able to help that team who has had several disappointing seasons?
I think it'll be the kind of Amari Cooper impact that he had, because when he came to the Cowboys, before he came, it was all Zeke, and other teams knew that. The opposing defenses knew that. They loaded up 8 people in the box and just to stop Zeke. But when Cooper came, you couldn't drop that safety down. You had to put one over the top so that you could watch those double moves and stuff by him, and that also opened up the other receivers. It just opened up the offense. And it's kind of the same with the Raiders. They didn't really have anyone.
Yeah.
So with Antonio Brown, whoever the running back, whether Marshawn Lynch comes back or if it's Crowell or if they draft Josh Jacobs, whoever it is.
Or a running back like Bryce Love, who I feel like people are forgetting about
Yeah.
the draft this year.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been injured this year.
But they'll have more running lanes, and it won't be as clogged up. And then like Terrell Williams, who they signed, a receiver from the Chargers, they'll just have more open like one-on-one coverages and stuff because he draws so much attention. Even if he doesn't have 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns, it's just the impact is beyond that.
Yeah, and we'll see definitely with, of course, losing Jordy Nelson to that team and retiring crazy like that.
Yeah.
Bringing in Antonio Brown could definitely be a help for Gruden in his job because people are screaming at him like, hey, why aren't you fixing this team right away? People don't understand that it takes time. But I'm just interested to see that quarterback situation. There was rumors that he wasn't a fan of Carr. He wasn't getting along with him.
Rumors he was getting shopped at the Combine this year.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see him. Big Derek Carr guy, so I hope he does well.
Love
but
Carr.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm wishing the best for Antonio Brown leaving the Steelers.
Another
but
shocking quarterback situation arising is Dustin Seahawks with Russell Wilson giving
Dude,
an ultimatum to the
I don't even want to talk about it.
his contract extension.
I have 2 Seahawks jerseys. I got an Earl Thomas jersey and a Russell Wilson jersey. Earl Thomas already left. If Wilson leaves, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
I don't see the Seahawks letting him go, even with the deadline. They're gonna pay him. Like
They should.
you're not gonna find a quarterback outside of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and
Baker Mayfield is new for the Browns.
I just don't see.
No one who's changed their team as much as
Wilson.
Russell
I just
Wilson
don't
did.
think they would let him go because without him, what are they? You know, it
Exactly.
used to be their defense, but that's not them anymore. They don't have
Legion
all
of
those.
Boom's all gone.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna find a way to keep him. If they don't, they've got to ask for at least a first-round pick. It's
Yeah.
got to be a first and probably a second also because he's got at least another decade in him, and he's a transcendent
What do you think
quarterback.
some teams, what teams do you think would be in the mix for that?
I mean, the Giants obviously have been talked about. I could see the Redskins. They've got the 15th overall pick. I don't know if Seattle would be interested in that.
One
But-
team I would love to see him go to would be the Saints.
Wow.
There have been several
Wow.
comparisons with him and Drew Brees.
If he had to leave,
and to go sit, he'd have to go sit behind Drew Brees for
probably 1
So
year.
few
for a year.
years.
Which that's not something you would think about as oh, Russ Wilson's a backup quarterback now, and that'd be a huge price for the Saints to have to pay. But I think it'd be worth it to have him to be able to learn from Drew Brees. And you saw last year how the Saints are already starting to move away from Brees, how they had Taysom Hill having to do more. Their offense is getting more gimmicky because
Bringing in that read option.
Drew Brees can't do as much anymore. So they
Yeah.
could even use Russell Wilson with Drew Brees at the same time next year, which I think would be a dynamic thing that they could do.
Oh yeah, if he was to have to leave, I think Saints would be. I just don't think they don't have draft capital. They don't have. They traded their first round pick last year to get Marcus Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if say Seattle kept him and didn't sign anything, and then franchise tagged him and traded him next year, Saints would have a first round pick. I could see that, and then that way he's not having to wait behind
The thing
Brees.
you have to worry about with the franchise tag for Seattle is the precedent that Le'Veon Bell set last year.
That's true.
Is the getting franchise tagged and then sitting out, and especially with the Seahawks not having a good backup, not really having any real good backup quarterbacks.
Nobody, pretty much, yeah.
Especially at quarterback, if your quarterback gets franchise tagged and decides to sit for a year and not play, what do you do?
Which Russell Wilson won't do. Le'Veon Bell's honestly lost so much
Yeah.
money by not playing on the tag. If he had just played on the tag, I mean, he would have gotten that money for that year and probably gotten more money from the Steelers
For the Jets,
or the Jets,
Yeah.
whichever team wanted to sign him.
However, I heard his agent talking about, it was basically him saying, I'm not going to try to go get hurt on the contract. That's 1 year.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to get a lot of guaranteed money when he went to the Jets, which he did.
Yeah, that Le'Veon Bell situation was tough for the Steelers, but he found a new home in New York. But just talking about, I brought up Jordy Nelson's retirement. A big one for that division where the Jets are in is the Patriots, and Gronk just retiring. He's obviously beat up, his body's beat up. So what does this mean for the Patriots and moving forward?
It's a huge loss. Gronk has been that guy who Tom Brady can always rely on. Goes out, makes incredible plays in the biggest moments. I'm excited to see what Gronk does now, though. Rumors of him going to WWE.
Dude.
I would love to see it. I'm interested to see if he stays retired, though. You saw Jason Witten come back this year after being gone for 1 year. Who's older than Gronk. But
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Gronk had a great career. Glad for him. Sad to see him leave, though.
Yeah, and there's talk that if Tom Brady really got in a bind and the Patriots just weren't looking that great, if he were to call up Gronk and be like, hey man, I need you if you want to come up just for a few games, if he were to just come out of retirement for one last run at a Super Bowl. So there's rumors about that. So we'll have to see what happens midseason.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also rumors with Gronk, and there's all these questions. Is he going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame? Do y'all think so?
I think he could be. He's been one of the, in my opinion, greatest tight ends in NFL history. However, you don't really see tight ends being first ballot that often.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a guy who has 3 Super Bowl rings. He's, I'm not 100% sure, but hasn't he led the league in receptions before?
Yes.
He has the most receptions
As a
by a
tight
tight
end.
end.
Mhm.
That's something just insane.
No, and I think he'll probably be a first ballot, but as far as being the best tight end of all time, I just don't see it. I mean, Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
He did it for so long, whereas Gronk, he had
That is
like
the thing
8
about Gronk,
seasons.
yeah.
8 seasons, and like most of them he's injured. He wasn't even there for the whole season.
Skill-wise, I would say he's one of the best.
Yes, I would rather go up against Tony Gonzalez than Gronk. Gronk is terrifying.
It's a hard man to bring down.
That dude is he's a freak.
Yeah.
But I just think
Career-wise.
Tony Gonzalez had an insane career, super long.
Mm-hmm.
Gronk retired before he's even 30. So like her first ballot, maybe best of all time. I think I still got to give it to Tony.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining the Dirty Birds podcast. You heard Grayson and Dustin here. Tune in next week where we're going to be talking about the draft and everything that's going on. So thanks, guys.